Hi, welcome to Race Sensation. I'm your host, Dan, and in this episode, I am going to be looking at a book I just recently got. It's Barbarians, From Conan to He-Man, A Cinematic History of Conansploitation. And it's from, I got it through Kickstarter. The publisher is Pulse Video, and the writer is Claude Gaillard, I think is how you say it. Gaillard? Yeah. I'm going to talk about this, but in order to build up a little anticipation, a little suspense, I'm going to talk about the first book I got through this company on Kickstarter. And this book, let me look and see what was the date on this? 2021. So this is After the World Ends, when post-apocalyptic movies were telling the future. And this book actually came out, at the time this book came out, there was another book covering the same genre of films. Within months, these two books came out. I don't know which one was put into production first or anything. I don't think either of them was trying to copy the other. But unfortunately, I don't have that one here. I don't remember enough about the differences between the two of them to go into details about. So we'll save that for whenever I find that other book in my storage, and I'll go back over that. In the meantime, this is a great book. You see, all this, I know this print's really small, so it's probably not showing up on whatever screen you're watching, but there were a ton of these movies. Now, it covers, there's a history of, there's been post-apocalyptic films basically since the silent film days. But this really wants to deal with the films that started in the 70s and goes forward. And it especially covers the films that came about because of Mad Max. After that, the genre explodes. So let me show you some of this. The great thing about this is there's so many fantastic posters that he reproduces in here. I mean, the posters, of course, just like with a lot of the pulp books that were kind of part of the inspiration for these things, the posters are better a lot of times than the movies. Like I said, here it covers the very earliest of the post-apocalyptic type movies. In this first chapter, very nice. And then here's where it hits the ground running. A Boy and His Dog. This is based off the Harlan Ellison short story. I think it's a short story. I don't think it's a whole novel. Does it say here? Anyway, so, and that's a fun movie. Very low budget, but it's fun. A boy. He's really not a boy. It was Don Johnson. He was in his 20s when he made this, although he might be supposed to be playing a younger person. But he's got a dog, and he has a psychic link with him, with his master. And so, they talk to each other, provide each other company. And then they go into things like The Ultimate Warrior with Yul Brynner, and Death Race 2000, a great Roger Corman movie. Tomorrow's Children, which I have not seen. Damnation Alley. Oh man, this was a total disappointment when I saw that one. There's Death Sport, another Carradine film. And then Mad Max. Now, it doesn't immediately take off after Mad Max. Mad Max is a hit, but it's a minor hit around the world. But then Mad Max 2, or as we know it, The Road Warrior in 1981. After this, here's Escape from New York. This is also 1981. It's not inspired by Mad Max, but Escape from New York might not be quite as influential as Mad Max. I think there still would have been other films, these films would have been made without Escape from New York, but it does. It's second place. It's just, it's ripped off a lot in these movies. So anyway, I'm not supposed to be really talking about this. I'm supposed to be going on to the Conan. But I'm just trying to give you now all these reviews here. They're pretty short. You know, you've got a poster here, and then the Bronx Warrior. Here's one page of write up. Then there's some lobby cards, and another poster, and then there's the other write up. So they're short write ups. It gives you a breezy rundown. Doesn't give you the whole plot, and it just gives some behind the scenes info. And they talk about some of the actors and maybe the director or producer, you know, people involved. And there are some interviews done. So there's some more behind the scenes stuff with people who worked on more than one of these movies. Interview Sergio Martino, writer, filmmaker, So, so anyway, I got this book. You know, there's a ton of photographs and posters. You know, if you took all that stuff out, the book could have been a fourth of the length, if not shorter. But these posters, I love them. And some of these photos are just wild as hell. So good stuff. So I'd gotten that. And so when they announced this on Kickstarter, I was like, well, I had some misgivings because there weren't nearly as many Conan ripoffs as there were post-apocalyptic movies. And many of the ones that were made on even much tinier budgets even than the post-apocalyptic films, or at least that's how I remember it. So let's take a quick look in here, and we'll get to what I mean. So here's the rundown, and here are all the films covered. That is a lot less films. Here's the foreword talking about the Conan stuff. You know, what ingredients had to be there for them to include it in the book. Again, fantastic posters are used. And then, you know, this is like a mini overview of the phenomenon. Then there's this. This is really silly. Oh, what does it mean to be a barbarian? These pages, not that crazy about it. They could have easily left that out, but whatever. Some people are probably going to think it's fun. Then they have a Robert E. Howard Conan expert, and he basically talks about the difference between Conan in the original Howard books and the pulps and stuff, and the way he was presented in pop culture. First, the changes made just by Frank Frazetta drawing those iconic covers, then by the Conan comic, and then, of course, by these films. And it's very interesting. I was a huge Conan fan. I got into the books because of the Frazetta covers. Then I loved the comic. And, you know, a lot of people complained, well, the comic isn't doing justice to the books. But then, when the movie comes along, it's even less close. I mean, the Conan in the movie is iconic as we think of Arnold Schwarzenegger and the way he played the role. It's just not like the Conan in the books. Now, in the back of my mind, you know, I think this is a good movie. Got a good director, writer, and Schwarzenegger's charisma shows through. It's just not the way I pictured Conan, so I was disappointed. And the thing is that this, the movies that come after this, many of them go even further afield from the things Robert Howard wrote. But, you know, there are things to be enjoyed. I still ended up enjoying these movies, watching these movies, And so I was interested in this. I was kind of hoping I would discover some lost gem that I had overlooked over the years. That doesn't really happen. But there's some of these movies that I never bothered to see because the previews and who made them just look so terrible. But it's fun to read about them, and maybe, I'll finally track the last of them down and watch them all. But again, the books and the comics, I love it all. And so this one starts off in 1982 with Arnold Schwarzenegger in the Conan film. And again, he makes up, they make up for the movie an origin story for Conan that's not in any of the books or anything. It's a cool origin story. This is all great. Like I said, the only thing is, if you really wanted to see Howard's stuff get on the screen, this is not really it. But it gets enough right that this is a fun movie. And lots of behind the scenes stuff. This has got a lot more writing than the rest of it, which is only fitting because a lot of the way this was made and a lot of the decisions they make in this movie, like I said, that this is where all the rest of the movies that follow kind of spring from. I mean, some of them they rip off other movies for inspiration, and some of them go wander pretty far. Again, just all this great fun artwork, and for movies that, in the most, the thing is, the post-apocalyptic movies, there's some real gems, low budget gems that are absolute fun and really have something to recommend them. These sword and sorcery films go downhill kind of fast, and even Beastmaster. I mean, the horrible cutesy scenes with the animals, which I get. A lot of people think that's absolutely fantastic. I just don't. I just think that's too kid-like. And although there's some good scenes in there's some good action. There's several of these movies that have really a lot to recommend. Beastmaster, of course, yeah. Sword and the Sorcerer is a terrific. Albert, I think his name is Pin. You pronounce it Pin. It's by far my favorite film of his. There are some really great scenes in this, some really good ideas. The film itself, it's not a great movie, but it is a lot of fun and definitely worth seeing. Again, more great artwork. Many of the people they got to do these posters were, people who are associated with the fantasy art to begin with. Pulp artists and stuff that we all know and love. Sorceress. This one, man. Yeah, there's a lot of bad movies in here. So, am I recommending this? Does this sound like something you would want as a book on a lot of movies which aren't very good? The best thing about this is many of these movies I haven't seen since I saw them on video back when they first got on video, or some of them I have seen since, but I haven't seen many of these in a very long time, and they kind of ran together. So this book is kind of fun because it reminds me, oh yeah, that happens in this movie, so maybe I'll rewatch that movie. There's a poster from Ghana, one of their wild over the top. This is one of the few times Ghana usually has these posters that are so over the top and crazy for just regular American films. Even dramas have people with their heads cut off. This is one where the movie kind of outdoes the wild posters. These the Hercules ones is, yes, they were inspired by Conan, but because of the stop motion and Luigi Cozzi, I think is how you say his name, the Italian director, he was a big fan of like Ray Harryhausen and stuff. So there's stop motion in these. So they're kind of influenced by those fantasy films of Rey's, but they definitely are also, and of course they are inspired by the Hercules films of the 60s, 50s and 60s. Just lots. I'm going to go through this a little faster here. Iron Master. That's a great picture there. Seven Magnificent Gladiators. Yet another ripoff of the Seven Samurai. Bruno Mattei. Or is it? Yeah, I think it's Mattei. It might be Mattei. He's directed some of my favorite low-budget, nonsensical, crappy movies. Definitely so bad they're good. This is a little more well done than most of his movies. Let's put it that way. Just lots of fun stuff. So many good. There's Fire and Ice, the animated film based by Bashki, based on Frank Frazetta's work. More Your, The Hunter from the Future. And then look how many movies came between Conan and its sequel, Conan the Destroyer. That's a lot of movies there. And of course, this as much as I was disappointed by this one for other reasons, there are a lot of good things to like about this movie. Grace Jones' performance is really great. She's so physical in the role. Terrific stuff. It's just let down by the poor execution of a lot of the action scenes and the fantasy elements. They take one of my favorite horror moments with the him tangling with a gorilla, the gorilla monster type monster, and it's the whole thing is this. Here's another one of these David Carradine films. The Carradine films are just so bad in most cases. This is one of the ones I haven't seen. Tonka. I'm gonna have to look that one up and see what that one's all about. I've seen Altar from Turkey. Barbarian Queen is one that used to play on cable all the time. Great poster. Is that that's Boris Valehi doing the poster there? Like I said, they got decent artists to do the posters, which was of course half the battle. And then there's Red Sonja, the last of the official Conan ones. Although they changed Arnold's name in it because they didn't have the rights to use Arnold's name for this Red Sonja film, because the rights for Red Sonja were held by somebody else than Conan. So, and then He-Man, the cartoon thing. I've got some videos on production artwork for He-Man toys and stuff that you might find interesting. Wizards of the Lost Kingdom are such crappy movies. The MST3K people did some versions of them, and if you like them, if you don't like them, of course you shouldn't bother. But if you do like them, those are some really good ones. They were on the Netflix years. So anyway, and there's the live action Masters of the Universe, which that's a not a good movie by anyone's standards. I'm not really familiar with. I just like the pre-production. I like all the artwork associated with the He-Man toys. I don't really know anything about the cartoon. I never watched it. I was way too old for it. I did see this movie. It's pretty terrible by any standards. I've seen the Barbarian Brothers. It's one that a lot of people consider so bad it's good kind of thing. There's some interesting fantasy pieces in there. There's a scene with a monster in a swamp that's actually kind of really, it looks like it could be the animatronics used for the creature remind me very much of the animatronics that were used for the monster that challenged the Earth. And when was that? That was like early 60s maybe, or it might have been that. Might have been the 50s. But the Deathstalker 2, Warrior Queen, another Boris poster. And then there's Sinbad again. Luigi Cozzi, and his love of Harryhausen is combined with a healthy dose of inspiration from the Conan films. So there you have it. Like I said, Claude is a great. He has a very breezy style. He does good. He gives you some good information for the background of the film. He gives you a bit of synopsis. He talks a little bit about some of the action scenes here or there when he thinks it's warranted, or some of the special effects. He doesn't go into detail on any of them for every scene or anything like that. So the chapters are very short. It's just a couple pages for each movie, but lots of great stuff to look at. I have not had a chance to read this whole thing yet. This just came out. Like I said, I got it off Kickstarter, but I really like the After the World Ends book, and this looks to be along the same lines. So I kind of recommend it. If I think I've given you enough information to decide if you want to. Have a good day. Like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. If you have a favorite of these movies, especially those later ones, and you'd like to recommend it for me to rewatch, just let me know.